9:45. Yes, daylight savings time. Hopefully not the one to break it to you or your day's completely out of whack at this point. John Carney in for McGraw. He returns to this spot on Thursday. I believe Paul Harris will be in tomorrow and Wednesday for the show, so we can return to our regularly scheduled award-winning program if there were awards for that type of thing that we do. All right, on we go. Dan Herman joins us, an attorney at Schwartz, Herman, and Davidson, also representing the folks at Swish Restaurant in Ferguson. And the first of what I believe will probably be several different types of lawsuits over lost business, police presence, the violence, and other things that have gone on. Uncharted waters, Dan, and you're the first one that finds yourself in it. So is it warm?
I don't know yet. We haven't really gotten that far into it.
Talk to me how this came to be. Did they reach out to you, or did you talk to some area businesses and talk about representation? What happened at the onset?
Yeah, they contacted us. They had seen us on the radio or on the internet, and they came to us and told us about how the police had taken their property and ordered them to close for the police actions in Ferguson.
We did all of September on our Restaurant Tuesday feature was nothing but Ferguson restaurants, and Swish was one of the first ones that we had. They were the first one that we had on in September, and the tone was a lot more appreciative about the people that had come forward and the busloads of people that were coming to eat there just to show their support after what had happened with the protest. I don't remember any conversation about them being closed at all.
Yeah, they were ordered to close at the start of the protests, and they were ordered to stay closed for the following 17 days. So they lost quite a bit of business. One
would think, but were they the only ones that were given that mandate?
As far as I understand it, a couple area businesses were ordered to close for the day immediately following the protest, but they were the only business in the surrounding area that was ordered to close and ordered to stay closed for the duration of the police action.
I know there are laws on the books, too, where through eminent domain and other means that the government can do something like that, take over a property or force a business to close if they deem that it's necessary. But in all of those instances, by law, there is supposed to be compensation. Why is it even an argument? Do they offer nothing?
Yeah, my clients have they called the governor's office, they called various police agencies that they knew to be using their private property, and none of them offered compensation. In fact, my clients specifically requested that they be compensated for their business and their loss of business, and all of those entities flatly denied their right to compensation.
For people that don't know, and the reason that Swish is such a primary player in this is when the police set up their command center, they set it up physically right in front of this restaurant. So you really couldn't even get in. And obviously, the command post commanded the entire parking lot. Here's a restaurant that had only been open a couple of months at this point. When I first heard about this and talked to the Swish people about it, one of the first questions in my mind was, wouldn't this be something that police had to talk to the building owners about? Because I don't think that the owners of the restaurant own the building.
Right. Well, the owners of the building, they don't have the right to the use of the building when it's being leased. The owners of Swish are paying for the right to use the property, and they're paying for exclusive use of that property. So as far as contractually, it's theirs to control as they see fit, as long as they, don't damage the property and use it in a manner that is expected by the people who own the property.
How do we spell out, here's what we lost? I mean, are they doing day-to-day receipts of what it was a month ago? Because you got a business that only has a 90-day track record to begin with.
Right. Well, the business, there was a restaurant in this exact location for about 5 years prior to my clients taking over, and we think that might help us establish a baseline for what they should have been profiting. But regardless of their track record, they did make substantial profit in the first 2 or 3 months that they were open, and they lost considerable money in the 17 days that they were closed.
So there's a lawsuit here brought on by the folks from Swish, and Dan Herman joins us from Schwartz, Herman, and Davidson that are representing the family there at Swish. So who are they suing, per se?
So we're suing the governor as a representative of the state. It's his office, not him personally. We're suing the Highway Patrol. We're suing Jennings. We're suing Ferguson. And we're suing the St. Louis County Police Department.
One of the things I remember in my conversation with Swish, we talked about the imposition put upon them by having them right in front. But she did seem a little disappointed by the fact that even with all those police officers there, I would think as a goodwill gesture, the least they could do is buy the food for their own officers that were stationed there. And by and large, that wasn't the case. They were bringing in their own food and drink basically onto the restaurant's property.
That's right. The restaurant actually lost a lot of the money that they lost was due to the fact that that a lot of their food was spoiled because they didn't have anybody to come in and buy it. And even if they had, they weren't allowed to open. So even if they had wanted to, they couldn't have provided any of that food for the officers because their business had been ordered closed.
This takes some conjecture on your part, but as this goes forward for your client, what is this going to mean for other businesses in the area that don't have the command center in their parking lot to hold up as part of the deterrent, but certainly a lot of people were not eating in Ferguson because of what was going on?
Right. Well, we're not stating that the government is at fault for the fact that people didn't want to come up to the area to come to Ferguson businesses. Actually, Swish isn't even in Ferguson, it's in Jennings. But the government took the property of Swish. So it's a little bit most businesses up in the Ferguson and Jennings area where some of those businesses people didn't want to come to at all because they didn't want to come to Ferguson. This is different because they had no way of doing business because they had been ordered to close.
And where are we today with Swish?
Well, the suit was filed last week, and we're in the process of actually serving all of the entities that will be defendants in the lawsuit.
I was thinking more along the lines of business. Are they still making their Swishberry chicken wings that are so amazing?
Yeah, they are.
They
are still making those.
Strasberry. That's what it is.
They are open. They're doing business now. They're taking private events again. They had lost a lot of private events that they had actually refunded during the days that they were closed.
We'll follow the case and see what happens. Dan Herman, thanks for checking in. Dan from Schwartz, Herman, and Davidson in a lawsuit filed by Swish in Ferguson. We'll see what comes of that.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. This is KTRS. Back in a moment.